How would you like easy and cheap access to luggage storage anywhere in the world? Stay tuned and we'll show you how. Also coming up in this episode of the Travel Pro Show, a highly controversial news story about a passenger who got booted off a plane in Salt Lake City simply for being concerned about social distancing. And I'll also show you some fascinating new technology for travelers passing through LAX. I'm Andrew Locke, and this is the show that shares the secrets to smarter travel. Hello and welcome to the show. First up, here's a story that's become a topic of hot debate among travelers. As you know, throughout the pandemic, the airlines saw passenger numbers plummet, and one of the ways they tried to coax travelers back again was to ensure social distancing on board, including very often blocking middle seats to allow passengers to spread out. As we all know, COVID is highly contagious, and the closer you are to someone who has it, the more likely the chance that you will be infected. With that in mind, here's what happened in Salt Lake City recently. It was a Delta flight, and one passenger was complaining that passengers were all bunched up together at the back of the plane.
Punish us all by not letting other people sit in those extra seats.
This video shows a passenger pushing back on a flight crew saying nobody could move forward to empty seats.
All the passengers were seated at the rear together.
The passenger, who asked only to be identified by his first name Garth, says he suggested spreading everyone out to give more distance and prevent potential COVID spread.
There was no reason not to do it. They didn't mention anything about the load of the plane being off balance or anything.
If you would like to come off.
But the flight crew in the video explains they can't move passengers between classes, even with empty seats.
You're not going to go to
So you're refusing to come off the aircraft?
Yeah, I'll leave peacefully with the police.
When Garth's objections persisted, he was told to leave the plane, and he could be rebooked on another flight.
What I'm asking you now is to please gather your stuff and come off the aircraft with me, and we can see what other options are for you to get to your final destination.
No. All I said is I was going to complain. This is not right, and I refuse.
It seems that when it comes to passengers' health and safety, there are limits, and one of those limits is not allowing passengers to spread out if it means they'll be sitting in more expensive seats. The interesting thing about this particular case is that the seats in question were not in a different cabin. They were simply higher-priced economy seats at the front of the aircraft. When I first heard about this news story, my ears immediately perked up because this exact situation has happened to me several times in the last few months, both on SAS and Southwest. I even took photos to document what happened because on both flights, the front of the aircraft was basically empty and 95% of the passengers were crammed together further back. And again, it wasn't that the empty seats were in a different cabin, they were simply the higher priced economy seats at the very front. Now look, I understand this is a tricky issue, but right now I honestly believe that most passengers are much more concerned about safety than whether they happen to score a free upgrade. Meanwhile, airlines are still claiming they're putting safety first when it comes to COVID, but they're obviously not when they're cramming passengers all together in one section of the plane. Now, again, I don't think they're doing it intentionally, but they're also not paying attention to it. Case in point, I flew from LA to London recently on Virgin, and although there were only 6 of us in upper class, they literally sat all of us right next to each other, even though the entire cabin was empty. I pointed this out to one of the flight attendants and she said, no problem, you can spread out if you like. But my feeling is that they should have looked strategically at the seating chart beforehand and facilitated spreading us out before we boarded. To add further weight to the argument that airlines are more concerned about profits than safety, although many airlines blocked middle seats for a while, that's no longer happening, even though COVID is still very much around. In their statement about the incident that I mentioned at the outset, Delta revealed their true feelings about safety versus preserving premium seats. Here's what they said.
They went on to say that customers purchasing seats in one class are not randomly permitted free upgrades into another class, even when seats are available. As for that passenger, he was kicked off the plane here in Salt Lake, canceled his trip, and he is now on his way back home to Oregon on a train.
Whoa, that's a long train journey back to Oregon. The guy's probably still on the train now. But again, as you saw from Delta's statement on the incident, they basically admitted that preventing random upgrades is more important to them than protecting passengers from COVID. Bizarre. Let me ask you, what do you feel is the right solution to this? Since COVID is so contagious, for the time being, should airlines allow passengers to spread out once everyone's on board? Or should preventing random upgrades, as Delta puts it, always trump social distancing? It's an interesting debate, isn't it? Personally, I do think it's hypocritical of airlines to make a big song and a dance about how much they care about social distancing in one breath, but then refuse to allow passengers to spread out when there are many empty seats available. As this story shows, there are times when passengers could and probably should spread out, but the airlines apparently disagree. Delta Airlines aren't the only ones kicking passengers off planes right now. In another controversial incident, Spirit Airlines recently kicked a family off a flight because, get this, their toddler was eating a yogurt without a mask.
What did they do? I told you, non-compliance, you will have to get off. I didn't want to do this. You have to pick up your stuff.
What did we do?
I'm sorry. I want you off.
Okay, no problem. Just tell me what we did.
Non-compliance with the mask.
We're wearing a mask.
She's not wearing it.
The baby?
Wearing a mask.
Now, in case you didn't know, under 2-year-olds do not have to wear a mask on flights within the US. And perhaps more importantly, all passengers, regardless of their age, are allowed to eat without a mask because, well, it's kind of difficult to eat with one. After the flight attendant ordered everyone off that plane, managers from the airline interviewed passengers, looked at their videos, and in a remarkable turnaround of events, they allowed everyone back on the plane except the flight attendant.
Baruch Hashem, happy ending. We're back on. Everyone's coming back on the plane. I think they removed that steward.
Wow. I'd love to know your opinion about both of these incidents, and I look forward to reading your comments below. And now, let's hear from our favourite Travel Pro presenter, Gabriella Soutine, with another nifty app review.
Have you ever found yourself on a short stopover, wanting to explore the city, but not knowing what to do with your bags? In other words, you want to see the sights, but you don't want to lug your luggage around. Enter Radical Storage. It's an app that has negotiated a flat rate daily fee with more than 3,500 storage locations around the world. In short, this app makes it easy to find a cheap place to store your luggage while you explore the city. It's available for both Android and Apple devices, and it's completely free. Here's how to get started. When you first open the app, you can either choose from one of the most popular cities listed or search for a specific location. For this example, I'm going to type in Stockholm, because that's where I was born, the capital of Sweden. By the way, if you ever go there, take a chance on me. And be sure to check out the Super Trooper ABBA Museum. I'm telling you, it's the name of the game whenever you're in Stockholm. You can say, thank you for the music, and it doesn't cost much money. Okay, enough for the ABBA puns, back to the app. So, when we search Stockholm, as you can see, there's 5 results. We can select any of these places for a flat fee of just €5 a day. And if we want to see the locations on a map, just click the map button at the bottom of the screen. To see more details about each location, just click on the little black and white arrow symbol and then the summary at the bottom. You can then view the opening hours, read a description, and browse the reviews. When you're ready to book, click the Book Now button. From there, you'll be asked to select the day and time of the drop-off and the pickup, as well as the number of pieces of luggage you want to store. To get the best deal, always try to book at least least a day in advance, as the prices are more expensive the same day you book. You can choose to pay with Apple Pay, credit card, PayPal, and you'll get a confirmation immediately along with the details of the exact address. I love this app! It's such a relief to know that I can store luggage easily and inexpensively while I roam and explore. I think you're gonna like it too. So, I have one question for you. Voulez-vous this app? Sorry, I couldn't help it. Let me know in the comments if you use Radical Storage. I'd love to hear about your favorite travel apps as well, so be sure to comment below. Alright, that's all for me. Back to you, Andrew.
Thank you, Gabriella. If you're enjoying this episode so far, please consider becoming a subscriber so you can continue to enjoy these episodes. Now then, I admit I'm a bit of a gadget geek, and occasionally during my travels, I come across some innovative technology. That was the case at LAX recently. I went to purchase some food items in the food collection area, I think it was Terminal 6, and there was no cashier. Instead, I was directed to this futuristic looking checkout, and a little sign instructed me to place items here. Well, within a second of me placing the items down, all three were detected on the checkout screen, as you can see. I was really fascinated by this, so the rebel in me wanted to see if I could fool the system. So I grabbed both a Pepsi and a Diet Pepsi, placed them both in the checkout area, and sure enough, it instantly knew the difference. I did the same thing with bottles of orange and lemonade, and again it correctly identified both items even though the packaging was the same. Turns out, whatever I put down, it nailed it every time. 2 bottles of tea, 2 sets of sandwiches, nothing I did could fool the system. I even covered up some barcodes and it still recognized everything. Have you come across this technology before? The company behind it is called Mashgin. Very weird name, but apparently they're using some kind of AI wizardry because their website confirms you can place any item, any way, and it will always detect it correctly. Obviously, this technology has the ability to greatly speed up the checkout process. So it'll be really interesting to see how it rolls out in the future. I'd love to hear your comments about this. What do you think about it? Have you used it? Would you be happy to use it? Or do you see any potential issues? Please do share your thoughts below. We always love comparing notes with other travel pros like you. Now then, if you want more travel tips for getting perks, upgrades and VIP status, I encourage you to visit travelproshow.com, where you'll find plenty of helpful tips. And while you're there, grab the nifty free guide, 7 top travel hacks to save you money on your next flight. It's the ultimate blueprint for getting the best deal every time. For more travel tips and inspiration, check out the YouTube channel All the Goodies. Self-described as a design-focused travel channel, there's some really interesting, unusual content on there, such as London's highest swimming pool and making chocolate at the Lindt Museum in Cologne. On Instagram, check out @AlexStroll. He's originally from Montana, but spends most of his time on the road taking outdoor photos of interesting places all around the world, and I have to say, almost every photo looks like a picture postcard. The images really pull you in. So we'll put links to both of those resources below, and be sure to check them out. Join us again next time when I will have a report from the lovely little island of Malta. We'll also tell you about a new trend that gives travel pros the ability to enjoy 5-star resorts during the day as a guest. And you won't believe my shocking discovery about British Airways. All will be revealed next time. And finally, here's a lost in translation sign from my travels. This one's from a Chinese restaurant that enthusiastically offers diners sweat and sour pork. I think I'll give that one a miss. Something's definitely lost in translation there. Please continue to check out our other videos, and we'll see you on the next episode.